The mailman doesn't deliver on a Sunday.
If you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Anthony for three. Bang! J.R. Smith! We just saw men fly. LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I'm Ronan Gaine. Joining me as always, Chris Nambu. This week we are discussing the playoff picture, one of the most hardly contested playoff races in a long while. We're going to be discussing the play-in in the West, the play-in in the East, some potential matchups heading towards the playoffs. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Rookie of the Year race and maybe just highlight a few of the outsiders, even though we know who the winner is going to be. So we'll get right into it. Chris, you ready to talk some NBA ball?
Let's do it. I mean, you said it. This playoff picture is complicated, changes every day. I'd hate to be the person who has to report on it because I swear it's changing like every 24 hours. So let's jump right into the East.
Yes, the Eastern Conference is it's a little bit of a smaller window for teams. I mean, you're looking at the Bulls, the Raptors, and the Hawks and the Nets are currently the teams that are in the play-in. I know the Pacers and the Wizards are just like a game and a half, 2 games back, but I think the two of them are done. I think it's a battle between the Hawks, Raptors, and Bulls just to see what position they end up finishing, because there's a game and a half between all of them. Let's start with your Bulls. What are you thinking now as we get towards this last week or two of the regular season?
Yeah, I'd say start and finish there, because I mean, you just look at the rest of the East. I think everything's pretty obvious. Bucks are staying up there. Celtics are staying up there. I don't know. I want to make a quick note on Jaylen Brown before we get to the Bulls. Like, it's interesting to see these comments come out right for the playoffs. I don't think that there's any concern about the Celtics going into the postseason, but just some obvious a little bit of potential drama there before needing to focus up. But from a on-court perspective, the Celtics are fine. 76ers, we mentioned, maybe Harden's not fully healthy, but Embiid's top of his game. Cavs, Knicks, and the Heat doing their classic post All-Star break. Like, everything's lining up exactly how you kind of assume, except for, we assumed the Nets would be this good, right? I think we did a good job of that. They've continued to be solid enough to be in the play-in. It comes all the way down at the bottom of the barrel for the Bulls and the Raptors and the Pacers. I think the Raptors are clearly up there. They've already won the tiebreaker with the Bulls. I believe they also own it against the Pacers, so they're there. So it honestly just comes down to, if we were thinking about who's going to make it in, it's probably going to be the Bulls. But at the beginning of the season, I know my answer, but would you have preferred to see the Pacers in the playoffs? Because you asked me, I'm going to give my biased answer. I'm curious for you, because watching these two teams, it's hard for me as an objective NBA fan to not be excited with what the Pacers have done. Maybe not consistently given their young team, but what they've done throughout periods of time in this season. How exciting Halliburton's looked, how explosive Benedict Mathurin has looked, how locked in Miles Turner has looked, being the focal big on this team. Like that, I mean, would you prefer to see the Pacers competing in a playoff scenario?
Probably, yeah. At the same time, I still think it's still an element of, I never thought they'd be this close going into this year. So it's kind of hard to say from the start of the year what I thought, but watching them throughout the year and watching the growth of Halliburton, it would have been really interested to gauge this team, even in a play-in situation where it's a win all. You're playing that one game to battle and stay in it. So I think I would have liked to see that, but at the same time, you have to admire what the Bulls have been able to do. Obviously, there's been off-court problems with Lonzo Ball. He's been out the whole year. That's going to continue. Levine has stepped up after having a period of struggling. DeRozan is getting back to seeing it more consistently from DeRozan, like we did last year when he was an MVP candidate for large periods of the year. So, I mean, the Bulls have put in the work and they've got themselves into this position. So you can't argue that they don't deserve the place that they're in.
I want to say we're now 9-5 after splitting with the 76ers after acquiring Pat Bev, who is no Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball all year long has been the missing piece of this team, the connecting piece, the defensive maestro, the offensive playmaker that we need to keep everything in order. That's been missing. And while Pat Bev isn't offensively that, I think defensively he replaces a lot of that in his intensity. And I think that's been meaningful too. And that's why I feel like, I still have some hope. So maybe I think if we're framing this discussion as like who deserves it, that's gonna be a little more meaningful in the West, where it's like there's so little to compare these teams against each other, because a lot of them they're just separated by 1 or 2 games, and it's just little things here and there that are just going to come down to fate. But the Bulls have just been so inconsistent all year long that maybe this is just the moment they catch their stride. You have 2 score, and I've always preached this, that when you have DeRozan, when you have Levine, if they are locked in together, you have 2 guys who can go toe to toe with any scoring duo in the league, with any team in the league. You have a big in Vooch, who's been good enough, I think, to be the 3rd guy at times. I think he slowed down a little bit the second half of the season, but I believe in him from an offensive standpoint. And then you have the defense. That's been the surprising thing for me. I don't know how Billy Donovan has managed to make a good defense out of a big 3 in Levine, DeRozan, and Vooch, but he has a top 5 defense. He has a top 5 defense in the league. Thanks to Caruso, thanks to the guard rotation, Iota Sumuk, Kobe White doing better. I think there's something real there where the defense will be able to keep them afloat, but it's just the consistency. Does the playoffs bring that out of them? And if it does, if that is a scenario where they can find a way to find consistency, then maybe there's something there. I'm just a little bit worried about the matchups, because I don't know how they're going to make it out of the first round if they end up matching up against Giannis. But I think we are going to make it. Maybe we deserve it. To face up against Giannis one more time is going to be tough.
So you're thinking you be confident enough. We're thinking you're going to have to maybe take down the Hawks and the Nets. Do you think that's a likely duo that you'll have to get by, or do you think you guys can still get up to that 8th seed and just have to take down likely looking like the Nets?
I think they're staying right where they are. I think they're staying right where they are, especially with the Raptors' strength of schedule being a lot weaker. I feel confident the Bulls can make it through. If the Bulls are not going to make it through the plan, then so be it, and then that's that's that. But with the way that they've been playing defense, and the struggles that the Nets have gone through at times offensively, the struggles that the Hawks have gone through at times offensively, and I think there's a formula for playing against the Raptors. It's just whether or not we can survive their defensive onslaught. But I think the way that Levine's playing right now, the way that DeRozan's playing right now, that the offense is humming in a way that it hasn't in a while. So I have no problem with the plan. Question is how you just defend Giannis, and that's a discussion for another day.
You don't. That's I think that's the main answer there. Unfortunately for your Bulls, you still no one in the league has an answer for Giannis, let alone the Bulls. But it's going to be interesting, and like, you think going into this year, maybe you can excuse the Nets from this because obviously they've traded away their major pieces. But the Hawks, Raptors, and Bulls were all teams going into the year that we're going to expect to be playoff teams and not be battling just to remain in the play-in, which is something that's really interesting. It shows the quality around the league. There's a lot of really good teams, especially in the Eastern Conference. We talked about it before. The East kind of taking a little bit more control back over the West. The West has been the very dominant conference for a while, and I'm very confident. I think that an Eastern Conference team is going to win the NBA championship this year, because I think the major competitors are coming out of the Eastern Conference. But we'll flip it over to the West. The play in there is just the Western Conference is just chaotic. We got the Timberwolves, the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Thunder, the Jazz, the Mavericks. All of them can still, not only can they still get in the playoffs or the play-in, they can still potentially get to a 6 seed or even a 5 seed, which is absolutely insane.
I don't. Do you think the Warriors or the Suns will fall out of the 5 and 6?
I don't think the Suns will. I think I'm pretty confident that the top five I think is set in the Western Conference. I think you could argue the six because the biggest thing for the Warriors is that of their 7 games left, they've only got 3 on the road. That's been a big issue for them all year, playing on the road. And those games are against the Thunder, the Pelicans, and the Timberwolves now. So they won't be easy games. They're going up against 3 teams that are all trying to battle to get into the playoffs, which will be tough. But you have to feel that the fact that they got more of those home games, I think they'll have the know-how. They've got Steph Curry there. I think they'll be okay, but it wouldn't be crazy to think that a run the Lakers on, LeBron can come back for the last couple of games. Timberwolves have just got Cat back. If the Warriors can slip up, I think one of those 2 teams could definitely take advantage.
Yeah, it's possible. In my mind, the way I see the playoff picture, I feel pretty confident in the T-Wolves. Feel pretty confident in the Lakers at this point. The Lakers have been, I think, since their big trade, and thanks to huge growth from Austin Reeves. So I think I have changed. I've changed my view of him, and to be fair to myself, I think a lot of this has changed from his opportunity on ball without Russell Westbrook there. His ability to run the bench is, I mean, spectacular, and his ability to be like, there's another day for an Austin Reeves segment, but while he's not a star player on that team, that was absolutely the right decision to keep him, because the Lakers are surging, not just because of getting D'Lo, getting Jared Vanderbilt, getting a shooter and Beasley, but giving Reeves the opportunity to be a playmaker and to do what he does on ball and to be an efficient scorer. Like, he's filled a lot of things that the Lakers might have actually had there all along, just didn't give him the opportunity to do. And with LeBron coming back healthy, AD looking fine, like they're a team I'm very confident in at this point. It comes down to me for
Timberwolves. Issue with the Timberwolves, their next 4 games, I believe they're all on the road. The Warriors, the Kings, the Suns, and the Lakers. That's a tough stretch there in crunch time.
That's a gauntlet. That's going to be interesting to see how, you're throwing Cat in right now. You want to get his feet wet. Their issues at the beginning of the season was all really because of throwing two big men out there at the same time, and how they dealt with that defensively. That'll be huge. Just we'll see how that gets resolved. It's not going to get resolved in 4 games. Hopefully, it doesn't get worse over 4 games. I think they'll make it out of a play-in. But my question to you, we can make an argument for all these teams, and then you kind of look like there's this end of the tier here where you have the Pels, you have OKC, and it's insane to me that we're talking about the Mavs.
Yeah.
And I could talk all day about how, like, Zion's going to come back healthy. It's going to be exciting. Brandon Ingram just had his first triple-double in, like, forever. I don't even know. I don't think he's had a 30-point triple-double before. And look at his game, how that's evolved, how much better he's become as an off-ball player, how, the Pels are making a late-season push. There's just like there's a spirit to those teams that makes sense, that these are teams that really are gearing up for the playoffs. They're getting ready to compete, and we saw with the Suns and the Pels last year, like the Pelicans made a valiant effort. Like that was a series. That wasn't the Suns just like blowing through that team, whatever. Like they had to fight for that. Those are teams you want to see at the bottom, but like you expect that Cinderella story. Maybe that's Shea coming to his own. Maybe that's the Pels like coming back in and making noise in the playoffs and making an upset. I don't have that feeling with the Mavs right now. And that, looking at this playoff picture, I think that's what struck me the most, is just thinking about where Luka is right now mentally. Obviously, you hope nothing serious is going on in his personal life, like just his comments he's been making in the media. Where they're at as a team on the floor defensively, like what they not just look like from a statistical standpoint, from a X's and O's standpoint, just like the spirit of competition just isn't there to the level that you'd expect for a team that almost reached the pinnacle last year. And that makes me feel like they don't, if we're talking about deserve to be in, crazy for me to say this, but it doesn't look like Luka's Mavs deserve to be in the playoffs right now, even if they make it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. At the moment, it's looking like the trade for Kyrie was just a mistake. They've both Kyrie and Luka have been injured during this time, but the team's record as a whole is 8-12 since Kyrie was acquired from the Nets. Pretty sure they still have a losing record even with Kyrie and Luka playing together. They're on a run currently of 3-7. They're in the worst form of any of the teams looking to compete for that play-in position. And you look at it and think it's been a really disappointing year. As much as Luka has thrived in periods, you haven't seen enough of the growth yet. Like I thought when him and Kyrie came together, even if the team wasn't going to be great, the two of them were going to be good enough to deliver wins, and they haven't been able to do it as much as you would have liked. I mean, losing to the Hornets last night at home, that's pretty unforgivable. How can a team under the pressure, with the talent they have, under the pressure to try and get into the playoffs, lose a game like that on their own floor? That's really shocking. And that's, again, when you look at everything that's going on with the Mavs, everyone talks, obviously, Kyrie is not going to stick around after this year. The only thing they might have said is they went on a good playoff run. Looking like that's not going to happen, and it's looking like Kyrie's going to be gone one way or another. And then you think of how good of a coach is Jason Kidd. I don't want to question him too much because he did such a good job with them last year, but the questions have always been there. And then it just comes back to the defense. They've had obviously key injuries this year that have hurt them, but it doesn't stand up to some of the other teams that they're competing with, not just in the entire NBA, but specifically in the Western Conference. So I think you're absolutely right. At this moment, they do not deserve to be in the playoffs. But I think they've got a decent shot. I think in their last 8 games, they've faced the Hornets, Pacers, Hawks, Bulls, and Spurs. They have to win all those games. The other 3, they're on the road against the 76ers, the Heat, and the Kings, which will be tough games. But you think Luka and Kyrie, as much as they haven't really clicked at all yet, you still think they've got enough talent to win the odd game and win enough to make sure that they are at least in the play-in tournament. And then if we're looking at like Lakers and LeBron and AD going up against Luka and Kyrie in the play-in tournament, I mean, that's just going to be a really fun watch.
It's going to be a fun watch, and I think the offense there matters, but I don't believe in the defense, and I won't talk about Jason Kidd's role in that at all, because this just comes down to roster construction. Like Dorian Finney-Smith was so much to this team, and it's not about like one guy defensively, but there's definitely, like, you lose the guy who you're putting on, usually the best player on the other team. You're losing that guy who's stepping up to the plate.
Mm-hmm. Reggie
Bullock is like can't handle this all on his own. Josh Green has been a fine defender, but he's never been an elite defender the way that Finney-Smith has been. And they just don't have any answers on the perimeter. They don't have any answers for shot blockers. Nothing inside. They can't defend the post. They can't defend in inside out game against a guy like Valanciunas. Even a guy like Nurkic, giving them problems that they can't defend the pick and roll well without really good perimeter defenders. You just put Luka or Kyrie in there. There's no answers defensively for this team at all right now that they've shown. And it comes down to a fundamental standpoint of not just the personnel, but how they played out there. So maybe you put that on Kidd. Maybe Kidd's not inspiring enough there, but it also comes down to Luka and how Luka's been just so disengaged defensively. When that guy has been that way for the past 2 years, that needs to change. And that's why I feel like they might make it in, maybe that through the luck of the regular season, but I'd much rather see OKC. I'd rather see the Pelicans, teams that you've seen, have that spirit on both ends of the floor. And I think maybe that's a wake-up call for Luka to not make it into the playoffs. Does that change him? It clearly didn't change much after how last season ended, but maybe this is the wake-up call that the Mavs needed, that the Mavs and Luka need to really make some serious changes on that end of the floor next year.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point. And what about the final 2 teams, the Thunder and the Jazz? The Thunder have a team that are going to be the sneaky one, because they've got a really nice next 4 games. They play Portland, Charlotte, Detroit, and Indiana. You think they can win those 4 games? I mean, obviously they do also face the Suns, Warriors, the Jazz, and the Grizzlies, but they're always going to be competitive in those games. So they can go, they can do a sweep of the lesser teams that aren't really competing, and then they can even get 1 win out of the Suns, Warriors, Jazz, and Memphis. You think that's a really strong finish for them to the season, and you'd have them in the play-in then with a run like that. And I think we'd love to see that. I think OKC, you want to see them in the playoffs, at least in the play-in. You want to see Shea in that moment. How does he stand up? This is not the OKC team that's a finished product yet by any means, but like the Pelicans last year, like other teams we've seen in the past, just that kind of Cinderella story of them getting to that moment first and just seeing what they look like. Do they just crumble? Does the Shea, the star that stepped up all year, does he fade away when the lights are shining brightest? You want to see how they hold up, and hopefully OKC. I'm excited to see what sort of finish they can make to the year, and then hopefully they'll be one of the 2 teams that are in the play-in, or one of the 4 teams. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's gonna be like there's gonna be a big difference just from like a fan perspective, an objective fan perspective. Like me watching Luka and Kyrie like lose a depressing like 5-game series maybe against the Nuggets or against the Grizzlies, wherever they end up landing, compared to a 5-1 or a 4-1 series with OKC. Like the Thunder competing to like make their name heard in the league versus Luka and Kyrie competing in a series that is already over for a playoff push that never was. Like those are 2 very different things. And the spot that the Mavs should have been in, and what did we talk about this like 3 months ago? Like Mavs should stay in the top 4. Like that has gone away. That's gone. That is dissolved so quickly. And they should be the biggest storyline of this season of how competitive it's been in the West and how the margins are so thin, and the massive error of going all in on offense in a league where everyone's all in on offense is about how you can be as a 2-way team like that. Like that's a tale as old as time. I feel like, ever since the explosion of the Warriors and teams just trying to seek out the most explosive offense and do everything on that end, that hasn't worked out for anybody. And that's exactly what you see here. So I'd rather see OKC. I'd rather see Shea out there. I'd rather see what does Jalen Williams look like out there as well. And there's going to be, I think there's going to be a chance that, that's a team that's a kind of guy, a guy like Shea, he can make things happen. He's not going to beat the Nuggets. Does he beat the Grizzlies? I mean, crazier things have happened. This is the NBA. Anything can happen. This is where stories are made. And a story can be made in OKC, but the only story that's going to come out of the Mavs if they make it into the first round is just another year of disappointment.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then finally on the Jazz, just obviously 35 and 38. They're playing under kind of the least pressure with the least expectation here, but they definitely deserve a shout out. They obviously went into full rebuild mode this year, but the fact that they're still in contention this late in the year to make it into the play-in tournament is a testament to what those guys have done. And like a shout out to Larry Markkinen, he has kept it up for the whole year, averaging 26 points a game, 8.6 rebounds on 59, 40, 87 splits. Like that is outrageously good from him. And it's a stepping stone. It's something that the Jazz can build around. When they got Markkinen, maybe they believed that they could turn him into this guy. Maybe they knew he was a potential kind of piece that they could have and then find a new player through the draft. But maybe Markkinen is the guy that they can look to attempt to build around now. He's certainly put his name in the pot for that, which is a great bonus for the Jazz, and they're coming out looking really shiny off the moves that they've made. Surprisingly, I mean, you look at Walker Kessler. I mean, even just compared to Gobert, something as simple as I saw the stat yesterday, he has 158 blocks. Gobert's got 87 and nearly 400 less minutes.
Yeah, it's
like that's insane.
I think it was obvious from his college performance how good of a shot blocker Walker Kessler was going to be. I think the question was how many minutes can he actually play out there? Like is he not mobile enough? And for him to be put out there with another big like Markkanen and for them to work things out seamlessly, like that goes beyond just shot blocking. Like he was always gonna be a good shot blocker, but he's been able to work his way into an NBA defensive system and look good, look the part. Like he doesn't look like a rookie out there. And he's gonna get some if he keeps this up. Like, I mean, there's gonna be some votes for him as a all NBA defense over the next few years. But I mean, you can't be that prolific of a shot blocker in that role and not be at that level. And they got that guy as a rookie. Gobert was not this good as a rookie. He couldn't get on the floor. And obviously that was a different scenario. You know, there's a lot more competition. They were actually trying to do something, but he looks like he belongs. And I think that's all the glowing praise you can give for the Jazz. And I hope they lose every single game for the rest of the season, because they've shown what they needed to show. They've shown that there's something there. They're not just a blank slate. Like, there are pieces there. So it would be exciting for them to like beef up their odds a little bit and see who they get. There's some opportunity here. If they get up there and they get in the top 4, they get someone special. Like they've got another exciting Jazz team here next year. Yeah,
for sure. Then finally on it, who we say, who do you want? Who do you think deserves to? We'll say come out of the play-in. What are the 2 teams you want to see coming, getting into the play-in and then coming out of it and getting to the playoffs?
From the West now?
From the West.
Ultimately, you know, you want to see the Lakers there. You really want to see the Lakers there. And it comes down to, I think you also want to see the Timberwolves there. I know I talked about the Pels, the Thunder. Like I at least want to see them in the play-in and have them have a chance over the Mavs. But when it comes down to overall talent, who's actually ready to like make a push? Timberwolves are kind of like the Bulls in the same way, where like there's been a lot of inconsistency throughout the year. You know they can do it. You know how close they came. I mean, that they're plays away from being in the same position that the Grizzlies were in last year, and that can't be forgotten. And to regain that could take a whole year, or it could just take a single series. All it could take is a single series in the playoffs for them to change their fate and to change a whole narrative this year. I think their problems run a little bit deeper than just one playoff series, but you got to believe in them, given the talent they have. Anthony Edwards, getting Cat back, having Mike Conley on this team, maybe he's the play setter that they needed, and that's going to figure things out. But the Lakers, like you said, Austin Reeves, getting LeBron back, and Austin Reeves, I think, is just he's a picture of what this team has evolved into over the season, is really relying on the other guys and people having to step up through a lot of adversaries. Like, everyone's been talking against the Lakers. Every team is out to get this team, say bad things about this team, but they've stuck together. And Austin Reeves, I think, is a product of, LeBron's leadership. I don't think people talk about that, but you see a lot of what Austin Reeves does and how much LeBron encourages his team, even when he's not on the floor. I think they've gotten way too much hate, and I think that LeBron's finally going to have an opportunity now that he's in the playoffs. This is his time. It's like 0-0. Nothing matters. And you know what playoff LeBron looks like. You know what a healthy AD looks like. And now we've finally seen a supporting cast for the first time this season that makes sense for him. And I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And you gotta heap praise. As much as they never should have been in the situation, the Lakers started the season 1-10. I mean,
yeah,
they're good. They're looking really good, likely to get into the playoffs now. Off of that, obviously, never should have been in a situation like that. But they've made moves they've had to do. We're hoping that LeBron James comes back healthy. AD is looking at his best the last few games, especially like watching him last night. It was all AD's classic, being efficient from the floor, dominating the boards. That's AD in a nutshell, and he can do that night in, night out. It's huge. They've got Dennis Schroeder is really starting to to play a lot better. He's showing his value to this team. Obviously, you mentioned Reeves. The other guys, they got a good group of honest players around a couple of stars that can turn the tide in any sort of playoff situation, which is huge. So hopefully, yeah, the Lakers maybe they can make the Warriors sweat a little bit for that 6th seed. But as long as they're in the playoffs, I think that's important. As much as I'm a T-Wolves guy, I like T-Wolves. I get what you're saying. Still feel like OKC. Maybe it's my heart saying a little bit. I want to see Shea in that playoff situation.
Oh, you really switched up.
I want to see Shea in that playoff situation and just see how he copes and how the team as a whole just goes out there. They're playing with freedom. They're under no pressure. It'd be a fun watch, similar to what we saw with the likes of the Pelicans last year.
Yeah, I know. I agree, and I wouldn't. And I think that's why it was such a stark. It's really tough. We'd have a conversation all day long about all these teams, why they deserve it, and I think it really just came down to the team at the end who didn't. And that's that for the West. I mean, the West is going to be exciting regardless. Who's gonna, if you could pick one matchup right now, just sit down and watch and just really enjoy. What would be the one matchup out of the West that you'd be pumped to see?
I mean, I want to say the Lakers and the Clippers, but now we don't know what the story is of PG, so it's not the full complement of it that we really want. So I guess you look at it and say Suns and Memphis, Suns and Grizzlies. Could that be an interesting watch with Ja being back, KD being back? Because the Suns and Memphis.
You're talking later rounds.
Oh, we're talking straight up right now.
Talking first round, yeah.
Oh, we're going first round. But then I think Kings and Warriors could be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Kings and Warriors. I obviously it's huge. The Kings are getting back into the playoffs. Hasn't been talked about enough. It's been so long. This team this team has looked so good this year. They could push the Grizzlies in the final stages, but they're likely looking like they're going to be the number 3 seed. Them against the defending champs, how do they stand up? The Warriors are a team primed to deliver in the playoffs. The Kings are this team that has come almost out of nowhere, really, to be one of the best teams, one of the best offenses in the league this year. That would be, I think, in terms of the first round, that's a matchup I'm really interested to see.
Yeah. My hot take on that is I'm just thinking about this, if the Warriors don't make it as a 6th seed or 5th seed, if they're in the play-in, I think they're losing that. Yeah, I think they're losing that. There's just throughout the whole season, there's just been they've just not stepped up to the moment in the regular season, and they just keep talking about ramping up, whatever. There's this whole the whole picture of Clay putting up 4 fingers to the Grizzlies sticks in my mind for a really just mediocre season. I think there's hungrier teams out there.
Dylan Brooks has got in the Warriors' heads, man.
Straight up, he's got real estate. But the Kings and the Suns, that's something I'm really looking forward to. Who knows if KD is healthy for that? But that matchup, they split that with a healthy CP3, Ayton, and Booker. Those matchups have been down to the wire. I mean, the Kings, they have a formula. I'm a little bit worried about how much they rely on scoring the open court and Fox getting downhill and getting early offense. Not sure how much that's going to be able to contribute in the playoff scenario, but I mean they've shown plenty with their 2-man game with Sabonis, with the 3-point shooting, the contributions of their rookie, their bench scoring as well. There's just a lot on this team that has gone unrecognized, besides just the fact that, oh wow, the Kings are making the playoff. We're going to see this team in full effect, and the country's going to see just how good this Kings team is, and hopefully it's not a one and done. But I think they have it in them to make it out of the first round, and if they're making it out of the first round, it's going to have to be through a tough opponent, and that's going to mean a lot.
Yeah, that will be huge. I'm still in my head. I still think it can't come all together. It's the Kings we're talking about here. They're gonna have to look so good in the next season, and it's gonna be a one and done. But I hope I'm wrong. What about out east? What's the matchup? I think the main matchup everyone's kind of got their eye on is the 4 and 5 seeds at the moment, the Cavaliers and the Knicks.
Yeah.
The Knicks
Yeah.
were the team that were meant to get Donovan Mitchell. Now he's in
Yep.
Cleveland. I think that's a matchup that everyone is excited to see go down.
Yeah, I'm pumped to see that because obviously everyone's going to be having their eyes on Randall. He dropped 36 points in the last meeting. Mitchell has always loved to play in the Garden. He dropped 38 earlier in the season in the Garden. And you have a lot of young guys too. Like this is a big moment for guys like Mobley, for guys like Garland, for guys like Quickly, for guys like RJ Barrett. And I really hope this doesn't turn into an RJ isn't stepping up in the moment type thing. Because I really just want to say like how rare it is to see guys of that caliber be so okay with their role. And I don't mean that in a passive way. I think he's done it in a professional way where like he's just doing his best to like help this team. So I don't think it comes down to can RJ emerge as a star to win this thing, but that potential still is there. I mean, the moment's going to come when they're going to force someone else besides Randall and Brunson. Let's do it. And RJ's shown those moments throughout the season. Maybe this is a time for him to step up. Same thing with Quickly. So it'll be fun to not just see like two stars go at it, but there's big X factors and young players on both teams that can really step up in the limelight. And what better place to do that than the Garden?
Yeah, I mean, and it's exciting to see. Obviously, the last time Knicks were in the playoffs, it was a disaster against the Hawks. There's a bit of a narrative though around this. I know obviously we had like Trae Young emerging as the villain of the entire NBA in that series with the Knicks, but the whole idea around that the Knicks should have gone and got Donovan Mitchell, it was looking likely that they were the team when they were making those moves at the trading their picks and different things like that. Obviously, it didn't happen. They went and got Brunson instead. They've looked really good this year. They've looked like a better team than the one that got to the playoffs 2 years ago. The Cavs are making a return to the playoffs. This is going to be their first playoff appearance without LeBron James since what, like 97, 98, something like that. The ground is there for Donovan Mitchell to just break into that limelight as a true and superstar, because Cleveland loves their sports teams. The city of Cleveland's shutting down when the Cavs are going in and in playoff mode. He can show that they have enough. The first step is they're going to get back into playoffs. That's the first step. Next step is show he can win a playoff series, and then down the line they can get back to the playoffs year on year on year and that sort of thing. But they've taken the first step of getting back into the playoffs this year. Now it's a question of can they go and win a playoff series and be that surprise team that no one's going to enjoy facing in the East.
Yeah, no one's gonna be surprised. I don't think people will be surprised anymore. I think last year Cavs were surprised. This year we know who the Cavs are. We know how good they can be defensively, and I think it is true though that Mitchell, as exciting as he's been over the years, hasn't made it far. And it's this classic thing that happens to star players that if you're not going forward, you're not winning championships, you're not making it out of the East, etc. Like then that starts to become, I think in my mind that should be a badge of honor. Like once you become that good of a player, that it's like, hey, well, you haven't made it to the finals. Hey, well, you haven't won a championship yet. Like that's how you know you're in good company when you are a guy that's the expectation. So I think Donovan Mitchell understands that, and I think Cleveland is ready to be that type of team. And I think the Knicks have turned things around in a meaningful way that's going to be a very tight series. I'm excited for that.
Good to hear that. It's good. I'm getting excited talking about it now. Playoff basketball.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
It's almost upon us.
Yeah, and I quickly want to point out that the 76ers and Heat, if that's that first round matchup, and I think that deserves its own discussion. Like once we actually know what the matchups are going to be like, that could be a nightmare for Philly for a lot of reasons. We'll see if Harden is healthy, but I'll definitely want to keep an eye on that and discuss that at some other point, because looking down the line, Embiid, talking about players with expectations, like Embiid has a lot of expectations for a guy who's playing like an MVP again, looking healthy enough, at least, depending on when you ask him. I don't know if he's got a foot issue or whatever. Harden's struggling with things, but he's looking healthy enough the way he's been playing. And to face a team like the Heat, I think that's a recipe for a disaster.
Yeah, I think that's Definitely fair. At least we're gonna hopefully see a healthy Embiid go up against the Heat when he returned. Obviously, last year he was half broken, and they were already in the middle of the series when he came into that battle. That obviously went to 6 games. I agree. I think it is a very large potential banana skin for the 76ers, but I think if they are going to lose it, I feel like it'll go the distance. So I think it'll still be a tight series, but you wouldn't be shocked at all to see the Heat come out on the right side of it, which is certainly the worrying thing about it all.
Yeah. And as usual, typical, we're already going over here, but our last 2 things that we need to talk about. Number one, again, dropping phrases on me, a banana scheme. I need you to explain to me what a banana scheme is. This is our weekly
banana skin. I said a
tradition.
banana skin.
Banana
So
skin.
potential to kind of to fall, to slip up. I
Slip
mean,
up.
yeah, you
A banana skin.
slip up,
Okay,
yeah.
I love that. Okay, a banana skin. I gotta remember that too. So we got Dame Squid. I remember my Dame Squid. I gotta remember my banana skin. And we gotta remember who is the rookie of the year. I keep seeing this all the time, and I love my Jalen Williams. I love that Jaden Hardy is coming out strong too. Like it's fun to see him get some run. But guys, like everyone needs to chill out, because ever since like month 3 of the season, like it's been even month 2, maybe
Ever
month
since the
1,
first game,
game 1,
ever since
exactly. Like
game one,
it's very clear that Paolo Banchero is just like like he is the rookie of the year. Like there's no discussion to be had about it. Like there's been a ton of exciting players, and that's discussion for another day, because that's really cool to see like how many guys, like you just go down the line. Banchero has been the rookie of the year, undoubtedly. 20 points a game, 7 rebounds, nearly 4 assists, and his free throw rate is unbelievable as well. Like he really knows how to play the NBA game. He looks like he belongs. Then you go down, like there's so many great players, and we don't have to get into all of them, but there's no question that he is that guy. He is the guy of this class. Keegan Murray's been cool, like not rookie of the year. Jalen Williams has made massive strides. He looks like probably one of the best 2A players out of this, better 2A player than Keegan Murray. Benedict Mathurin, fantastic, but no question at all. Banchero's that guy, rookie of the year.
100%, 100%. He's looking like he's playing very near LeBron James rookie of the year sort of level. He's right up there at it. So I mean, it's crazy to call. As much as it's been exciting, like you said, there's been lots of exciting rookies. That's been a great thing about this year. There's been a lot of guys that maybe haven't fully lived up to potential. Thinking like a Keegan Murray, you thought he might do a bit better. He's gotten better as the season's progressed. A guy like Jalen Williams has come out. We haven't got to see Chet Holmgren, obviously, but other guys have been able to step up in that space, which obviously has been great to see. The likes of Walker Kessler, like we mentioned earlier in the pod, it's been a really good rookie class. The class of 2022 was looking now like a really strong class in their first year in the league. But yeah, ain't no doubt about it. Paolo Banchero, very, very impressive debut year in the NBA, and Magic in a good position with a young team. They can definitely kick on and be definitely in and around that playing mark when we look at this next year. It's a lot of pressure to put on a young team, a lot of pressure to put on Banchero, but he can even reproduce what he's done this year, and other guys around him get better. They can get more talent in. They could definitely be a play-in team next year in the East.
Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning of this year too, but
they've gone off a little bit on that, but I think
they trended in the right direction. I think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the right way to go. And just to close out on the playoff talk, then let's talk about the contenders. Who do you think are the legitimate contenders? Who do you think the legit contenders are? And then we'll each throw out a team that we think could surprise. Who do you think the legit contenders are for the NBA championship in the NBA at this moment?
From the East, it's pretty easy. I think the Bucks and Celtics are clear cut above the rest. It's going to come down to those two. They're going to rematch in the Eastern Conference Finals, and with a healthy Chris Middleton, we'll see. But with a revamped Celtics roster, they've also got some tricks up their sleeve for this season as well. I mean, the West, the true contender, that I'm going to let you answer first, because that is that is the hard question. I think I'll let you go on that one.
Yeah, you can let me go on that one if you really want. But I think I'll say in the East, obviously Celtics Bucks, yeah, no brainer is absolutely the 1-2 seed. I gotta keep Philly in there because I've talked them up so much. I can't just go back on it now. I think Embiid is ready to go on a great run this year. He's going to be healthy. I think you mentioned earlier, maybe Harden's health is not the key for what the 76ers need. Maybe it's more important that it's just all about Embiid and a good team defense around that. So I think they're still one of the competitors. I said it before. I think the winner of the NBA championship this year is going to come from the Eastern Conference. I think it's going to be the Bucks, the Celtics, or the 76ers. Maybe they one of them falls off early, like you said, with the 76ers going up against the Heat. That could happen, but I think it's looking likely if before the Eastern Conference Finals, it'd be the Bucks and the 76ers rather than the Celtics and the 76ers. Would that be right, or would it be the Celtics and the 76ers?
It'd be the Bucks got enough to do bracket magic, but I think it would be
It'd be the Celtics, right? Because they're the second seed,
yeah.
and Philly are third seed. So it'd be the Celtics and Philly going head to head, right? Yeah. So I think I'd have more confidence in the 76ers being able to beat the Bucks than I would the Celtics, which is it's interesting. It's like 76ers could beat the Bucks, Celtics beat the 76ers, and then it's the toss up. What do we get out of Middleton? What has changed for the Bucks team that they can get by the Celtics this year? But in the West, I really don't know. It's gonna, like, obviously the Clippers now are without PG. Is Kawhi still at the level where he can carry a team like he did? The Clippers are still a very good team. They've got a really good team around Kawhi Leonard. Is he still at that level where he can carry that team on his back? Maybe until PG's 13. Maybe it's until PG comes back. Maybe it's until for their whole playoff run. Who knows what way it's going to go with the injury that Paul George sustained. I worry about the Nuggets. I think that as great as Jokic has been when it comes to the moment, and he's got to be that 30-point per game scorer. Can he do that? Maybe not. Can MPJ and Jamal Murray step up in a big way that they're going to need to kick on? I don't know. I think to look at the candidate from there, you gotta go Suns with healthy KD. The health of KD is the whole thing about it. But I don't know about Memphis. Are they gonna be back? That's the main thing. Yeah, I know you believe in your Memphis Grizzlies. Is it all gonna come together this year after what's gone on recently? Are they gonna be fully healthy, fully ready? I don't really know. I'm thinking KD's coming back. I think they're projecting Wednesday he's going to be back for the Suns, so he's healthy come playoff time. I think they're the major contender to come out of the West, but I think the East are going to do it this year.
Yeah, the East is going to do it, and I think the ironic surprise of the West would be the Nuggets, because they're the number one seed, but they're the number one seed that everyone will say the same things, like they're concerned if they got enough. But I remember what Jamal Murray.
Jazz number one seed. That's you kind of look at it, yeah.
Yeah, similar. So I think they'd be the ironic surprise. But I got full confidence in the Grizzlies and what they've done through self-imposed issues this season, and to get healthy, I think they're going to be there. And for a 7-game series, every single round, I think the Grizzlies got it. I mean, that the Grizzlies have shown the most consistent effort and spirit throughout the year. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to, like who's got the most experience. And they were so close. I mean, I think they were there last season. If Ja doesn't go down, they're there in the finals, I think. And if he's healthy this whole postseason, I think they've got enough, and I won't pick any team over them if you match them up. Even honestly, even with KD, I'll take them over that Suns matchup, because I still don't know what that team looks like throughout a whole 7-game series with KD there, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy the second half of the season. And to ask him to play full playoff minutes, it's not there yet. I'm taking the Grizzlies.
Yeah, that's fair. And then surprise team from either conference. Who's the team we think most likely that could be an Atlanta Hawks, Dallas Mavericks this year?
I'm sticking. Oh, we're going back to the East.
Whatever you want.
I'm sticking with the Bulls, man. I'm sticking with the Bulls, man. I really think that would be talking about biggest surprise, but formula for it to exist. Like it's not out of the realm of possibility with what the Bulls have done inconsistently, especially against good teams this season. If that is put together over 7 games, I think they're a team that could surprise. That would be the most surprising, and it's the most absurd answer. But like, I think there's fundamental reasons why I can't believe in some of the other teams because of some roster construction issues. And Bulls have their own for sure, but I think they have what it takes in a playoff scenario potentially to, if they make a big upset in the first round, then the horse is loose. I can't come up with cool phrases like you. I don't have any cool phrases.
Yeah, you'll get there. You'll get there one day, man. Don't you worry about that. I think I'll go a bit more realistic. My heart of heart, obviously, I want to say the Lakers can go and make a push now, but I won't believe it until I'm watching it with my own eyes. I think that's the way I'm looking at it with the Lakers, even seeing what level LeBron is at when he makes his return. I think the more realistic one, I think the Cavs are the one to look at. The Cavs have their defense. They have their star. They have their 2 guy, their place setter in Darius Garland. How does that translate into a playoff situation? I think it could be a really big year for this Cavaliers team. No team in the East. I know we say the Bucks and the Celtics are these 2 big dogs, but no one will want to face the Cavaliers in a 7-game series. They will take a lot of pushing to get out. I think we're going to see the Cavaliers are going down in the playoffs is going to be in 7 games.
I 100% agree with that. I think that's accurate. Like if the Cavs are losing, like they're taking serious to 7 games. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'll do it. We'll get more into the playoffs as we get closer, but I think it's something that had to be almost attempted to round up and review. It's been such a crazy period at the moment. All the teams that are trying to get in, but I think we got 2 weeks left of the regular season. Then it's time for playoff basketball. But that's going to do it for today's episode. My thanks to Chris for joining me, and thank you all so much for listening. Remember, you like what you're hearing. Wherever you're getting your podcasts, you're on YouTube, you're on Spotify, wherever you may be, make sure to like and subscribe. And you want to see our shorts, everything like that, follow us on social media. We are everywhere at Coast to Coast NBA. And remember, most importantly, to take every shot and love every moment.
Peace out.